I will just explain the verse, and in explaining this verse, I will explain the vision of Vedanta about the nature of I. Okay? The verse is, Vicky, that is this Paranchikhani Vratrunat Swayambhuhu Tasmat Param Pashyati Na Antaratmanam Kashchidhiraha Pratyak Atmanam Aikshata Amrita Chakshuhu Amritatva Ikshata. Here he says that the whole life we are searching for personal fulfillment. Okay? And where are we looking for personal fulfillment? Through acquiring things. Okay? So here he says that Paranchikhani means our whole orientation when we are born is we have 5 sense organs and there are sense objects and we have a sense of lack. Starting with a life, there is always a sense of limitation, some amount of inadequacy, and we are trying to fill this inadequacy. And then we see this whole world with so many different options, so many different objects. Okay? Now each one comes with a certain preference. So that means somebody is interested in art, somebody is interested in physics, somebody is interested in making business. So you have all these variety of people, and for every preference there is a corresponding object. Okay? So therefore the whole life goes in chasing different objects. And not only that, from the time of birth till now, how many different desires you've had? Countless. Okay? And when you had one desire, it was so important for you to fulfill that desire. When it did not get fulfilled, what happened to you? You were angry, you were upset, you were sad, you had sometimes you imputed on yourself the responsibility, and you thought that I'm no good, I'm not efficient enough or whatever, or you blame the world, or you blame the person for you not getting what you want. So the whole life goes in engaging in the world, okay, trying to get whatever one wants, okay, and in this search for whatever one wants, what actually are you interested in that object for object's sake, or are you interested in that object for your personal fulfillment? Second, right? You're not really interested in the object. You are interested in the object till the time that you think that your personal fulfillment lies in that object. An example, okay? When you are young, you are playing with marbles. Nowadays, I don't even know if kids play with marbles. Now they are with their iPads and I don't know what. And somebody snatches that marble, what happens? You start crying. You can't handle the loss of marble. Okay? As you grow up and you are, let's say, 15, 20 years old, marble loses its significance to you. Okay? So that means that until the time that you think marble satisfies you, till that time you are interested in marble. The minute you shift to something else, marble loses its significance. Okay? So this is how we keep on moving from one object to the other, and we impute our happiness to that given object. Okay? So ultimately, we are not interested really in the object, we are interested in our fulfillment. And at whichever point in time we impute our happiness onto that given object, it becomes very important to us. Okay? So now, with this process, okay, we are searching for personal fulfillment. Do we get it? We keep on shifting. We keep on shifting from one object to the other, and if one object gives us a relative fulfillment, then what? We try to intensify, or we try to increase the quantity of that given object. That's what we try to do.
But we are built that way.
Yeah, built that way, right? The thing is, it's exactly what we are saying, there is nothing wrong with that, because ultimately you cannot be satisfied until you find a fulfilled self. What we are saying is, by this approach, will you then be able to have a fulfilled self?
Is this approach wrong? Sorry.
No, it's not that it is not. See, we are not giving a value judgment by saying that it is wrong. Because this is very natural. So I don't want to give people a complex that all that you have been doing so far is wrong.
But isn't that actually normal? Because you're born as an amoeba, there's no stuffing within you, and you're trying to put various things in to fill you up.
Exactly. So that means this is exactly what the verse is saying. You're born with a sense of lack, okay, and you're given sense organs, and you're given sense objects. So that means, what is the natural way you use different objects of the world to fulfill you, right? Paranchikhani Vratranan Swayambhu. This is how everybody is born. Okay? But what happens is, Kaschid Dhiraha, the person analyzes the experiences of life. This is something which everybody is very busy doing. There are a few people who just begin to raise a question and think very conceptually and think very fundamentally. And they ask this question, hey, what am I interested in is my fulfillment. All these different things that I have gone after, it's not that they have not given me any fulfillment. No, they have given me some fulfillment. Because if they had not given me any fulfillment, people are not stupid. They will not go after it. Okay? But it gives me momentary happiness, and I'm still feeling the lack. Okay? So therefore, now what is the process through which I can fill this lack? By engaging in the world more and getting more and more of things of the world, intensifying one given thing. I have 1 million and I need 10 million, and I have 10 million, then I need 100 million. Is that the way to fulfill that inadequacy or limitation which I impute on myself? Is it possible? Okay? When I say that neither in the past nor in the present or nor in the future, through this process, anybody can find a fulfilled self. Okay? And yet my search is for fulfilled self. I can't give up this search. Because behind every pursuit of mine, what is at the center is me and my fulfillment. Okay? Then where is the answer to
No,
this
but
search?
sorry, I still want to question that.
Yes.
Why is this a problem? Because, okay, your object may change, it will
Yes.
move from marbles to
Yeah.
iPads and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But it gives you continuous fulfillment anyway, it gives you happiness. What is wrong with it?
No, it gives you, basically it gives you momentary happiness. Okay? Then along with that, it also brings a lot of other baggage, because many things don't happen your way. Okay? When things don't happen your way, what happens? You are dissatisfied, you are sometimes angry, you have sadness, so you have fear of losing what you already have. All this also comes along with it, right? It doesn't come only, the happiness comes, true, okay? But first of all, it is not lasting. Secondly, along with it comes the whole baggage.
But your interest in it is not lasting either. You've
Sorry,
moved on
exactly.
by then.
So, but the
and
thing
it
is,
comes with so much happiness too. It comes, your successes are far greater than your failures, so it's worth it.
no, if it was giving you exactly what you are looking for, then you would not come searching it. Okay? So what I am saying is, there is a different way of looking at the world, re-looking at your whole position and what you are doing in life. Vedanta gives you an option of looking at life differently, within which this is already also accommodated. It's not that you have to leave it, but it gives you, it's like you are in a well and you are caught in this framework and you think that this framework is the framework. Okay? What Vedanta does is pulls you out and make you see the world in a different light, where you don't negate this, but you encompass a lot more. Within that lot more, this is put in perspective. So in fact, before this became a problem, now you can handle it with lot more maturity because you have a proper perspective to it. So Vedanta is all about not physically not engaging in the world, it is having the right perspective. Once you have right perspective, you can engage in the world with freedom. Okay? And that freedom that it gives you. Okay? And in that freedom, actually you can do whatever you are doing much better than before, because you are no longer burdened by those things. The minute you let go of the burden, you can do whatever you are doing with far more enthusiasm, with far more dynamic outlook, okay, and with cheerfulness. And that's what everybody wants. Okay? And this is what Vedanta is.
One premise of this particular thing that you said was that everybody is born this way, or it's our natural state of being. But there's a lot of conditioning to it, right? So I would, it's maybe possible there will be many societies where this pursuit of number of objects by itself is not the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Is it, to what extent is it conditioning? Are you born this way really, or is it?
See, that's a very good question. Everybody is born with a certain sense of lack. That is something which is true for everyone. And everybody also needs something or the other. Okay? So you need external objects. That is something that you can't totally avoid. But in terms of the structure of the society, what you say is very, very true. Okay? I read something, there are a lot of these French scholars and all, and yesterday I was talking about this thinker called François Gouthier, okay? And he's looking at the world and he says that right now, if you look about the definition of success in the world, what is a commonly agreed definition of success in the world? Sorry? A big bank account, right? So that means more money. Then this is actually what he says is, it's a unidimensional definition of success. Okay? It's not that it is totally wrong, but it is just like one dimension. Okay? I think that the bigger bank account, if I want to see anybody like what car, it's not just, nobody knows whose bank account is what, right? But what shows, from where do you infer the bank account of a person, where the person lives, what car the person drives, what school the person went to, right? So these are all the different ways that you infer where do you put the person, okay? In fact, that person was saying, now what are the problems with that? Okay? What are the problems are manifold. Okay? One, with reference to every human being is multidimensional. There is no human being who is just one-dimensional. Now, if you overly focus on one dimension, then what happens? All your other aspects which are needed for human fulfillment, they get neglected. Okay? When they get neglected, what happens? You are not totally satisfied, you are not totally fulfilled. Okay? So therefore, a human being by nature is multidimensional. If the success is defined, which is unidimensional, and everybody channels all the energy into one pursuit, then by nature what happens is many other aspects of a human being. A human being has creativity, human being has aesthetics, all these different things that we need to empower ourselves or to embellish ourselves are all neglected. Human relationships, everything is sacrificed. Okay? With that sacrifice, I am not happy. That is the first problem. Okay? The second problem is that when you, for example, when everybody starts accepting that definition, what happens is you go to a cocktail party. Okay? And people start engaging in a conversation. They will start asking you, what you're doing, where where you went to school, what are you, all these questions are not just simple questions. They're not curiosity-based questions. Based on these questions, they are what? What are they doing?
They're sizing you up.
Absolutely. They are sizing you up and they relate to you based on what? Where they put you in the category, which category they put you in. If each one is doing that, are you really in touch with the person? Are you interested in the person, or are you interested in that image that you have created of the person? This is a loss to the society, because people stop what? Communicating with each other. They what? It's a like whole big facade that we put what we want to present to the world as to who we are, and each one only deals with what? The facade of the other and not the human being. Okay? As long as that happens, there is no real communication, there is no real exchange, there is just kind of a, and this is why some of these so-called society people, they get so tired of going to parties after a while, because it's not real. Okay? At times, when you lose touch with reality, there is a problem. The third thing is, it puts so much pressure on people and it loads people which are totally unnecessary. Okay? What is a load? I will give you a real example. Okay? I have a friend who told me this story that her daughter told her that, okay, I have to go to this person's birthday party, okay, on this and this date. So then she says, okay, that's fine. After a few days, her daughter said, no, it's cancelled. So the mother got a little bit curious as to why it got cancelled. Okay. So she asked she talked to that other girl, and these girls are quite innocent. So what happened to your birthday party? This girl says to this mother, who's her daughter's friend, she says, I go to different people's home, all my friends, they have all these fancy homes. I'm shy to show my home because I don't have as fancy a home. At the age of 5 or 6. Okay? So that means the inadequacy that you begin to feel at a young age, and the psyche of that the innocent child, right? And then it gets further and further reinforced by the society that what you have is not good enough. If we live in this kind of a society where a person is constantly feeling judged and is living with certain burdens of I'm not good enough in the society, are we really living in a society which actually encourages people to express themselves and express their talents? And there is a huge loss.
So aren't we at odds with ourselves out here? Because on one level it's all about competing, about being better, about setting yourself apart, about rising above it, etc. And on the other hand, there's all this guilt going on with it.
So what I'm saying is, when
so how do you correlate?
Yeah, exactly. So what that is French. First, he's analyzing. What he's analyzing is first that we have defined the success in unidimensional manner. Then he shows what are the disadvantages, right? He's showing different dimensions of disadvantages. Okay? Then he talks about one more disadvantage. He says collectively, as Neema says, the success is money, and money with money what do you want to do? You want to buy more and more. Okay? Now if everybody is engaged in buying more and more and more and more, what happens to the natural resources? What happens to the environment? What happens to the ecology? And this is exactly, we as human beings, we face these problems. Okay? We face the problem of global warming, rise in sea level, depletion of ozone layer. These are all the problems where there is this mad drive, yeah, exactly, for consumption. The whole economic model is based on the more you consume, the economy grows, there is a growth, and that's what is the good performance of a country.
Well, I think that's what the West is realizing, that capitalism is good.
Exactly. So therefore, now this French scholar, he says, not only at individual level there are losses with this model, but even as a collective society, there is a problem with this model. So he says, does the world have any other solution? Does the world have an alternative model to go by? And this is when he says the Vedic model is an alternative. In Vedic model, the highest importance is given to the thinkers. Okay? The person, the merchant is not really the highest. The thinkers occupy the highest position in the strata of the society. The thinkers, they are not rich people, okay? But they are engaged in two things. One is knowing the world better, and second is what? Reflecting and contemplating on oneself also. Okay? Because in our whole orientation is external, what we miss out on is what? Ourselves. Re-looking at myself, re-looking at my values, re-looking at my assumptions, okay, and embellishing and nourishing myself with certain realities which I may have totally missed out on. A person who is doing that is a reflective person. Okay? And that person occupies the highest place in the society because the person is doing something which is not what the majority is engaged in without thinking about things.
Just to add here, so I don't know if I'm saying it right, but at least from what I had gathered from the classes that we had, is that, kind of summarizing it, is that externally, like we're always dependent on things for our happiness, right? If
Yes.
I'm looking for a car, I'm looking for a big house, so it's always dependent, and life's not going to work in the everything. And what Vedanta comes with is one of the core understanding that I got is that we come complete. We are already complete. Like we are fulfilled at this moment. It's just about us finding that, yeah. So that's something that got left with me during the classes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I'm sorry,
So-
but even here, though what you spoke of last is not money oriented, it's about the mind and it's about bettering yourself. Certainly there's a huge need not for necessarily things, but for creating a distinction and saying I'm better in X, Y, Z ways.
So now let's look at what Vicky is saying is the premise of Vedanta. Okay? So let's see what Vedanta has to say. Okay? Then we can discuss, because let's first hear what it has to say. What Vicky is saying is absolutely right. That search for freedom that I'm searching, it always eludes me. Okay? Now there has to be a solution to that freedom. And where is the place where that freedom lies? It lies on knowing oneself accurately. Okay? So therefore, now here he says, Kaschid Dhiraha, the person when he has found the fact that, there has to be some other way of looking at my satisfaction, then I turn my attention towards myself. Okay? When I turn the attention towards myself, then there is this logic that the Vedic just understand, because it looks at the world totally differently from the way we look at it. So give it a certain thought, okay? Because it's not intuitive. Intuitively we think like this.
What is the translation of
So-
the last phrase you said? Sorry.
Okay, Kaschid Dhiraha, okay, that person who's figured out that this external orientation is giving me momentary happiness, but there are problems with it. Okay, Antar Atmana Pashyat. So that means now the whole focus is, what is my starting point? When I engage in the world and I want this and I want this and I want this, what is my starting point? The starting point is that I am limited. Okay? And I want to do this for my fulfillment. What Vedas say is, if that you are limited, that you are insignificant, and that you lack, if it is a fact, if this is your intrinsic nature, no addition or subtraction can make any difference, right? If the sugar is sweet, adding anything or subtracting anything, what? It will remain sweet. If the salt is salty, it will remain salty. If you are basically a limited person, no addition or subtraction will change your nature. Okay? So therefore, just listen to what Vedas have to say. It's an ingenious logic and ingenious unfoldment of who you are. Okay? So therefore, the only way to solve this problem is what? The only solution to this problem is you are already free from limitation. Right? Because if you are really limited, there is no solution. There is a temporary solution. You want to say something?
No, nothing. It was more of a question.
Yeah.
So, to the extent that, in that previous comment there was a line that we are born when that time we are complete and adequate. Really, I thought that over a period of time, a person comes to realize that I'm limited. So, I've heard this line before that when we are born we are complete and limited, unlimited and all that. The thinking faculty is basically insufficient to reach that thing. So that's point number one. It is more of a question. And the second is if a person thinks that I'm limited. So Vedanta says, what does Vedanta say? Vedanta says that think differently and therefore you are not limited, or you are genuinely.
You are genuinely
unlimited.
Yeah, unlimited.
And you are genuinely unlimited because
the logic is going to come. The logic is going to come. It's going to show you how.
Sure.
Right?
I think it's more
Yes.
of what you said earlier. When you start thinking you're limited, it's part of the conditioning that you get in the society. So I don't think the limitations are inborn. They're created. But you can't do this, you can only do this. I think that's more of the society conditioning than anything.
So you're saying when a child is actually born, they don't have a sense of being limited at all. They're born feeling limitless, but that conditioning comes in?
No, I don't say that. No. Because if you take Vedanta model, then every human being is born with an ignorance, and that ignorance is about two things: about the world and about yourself. Human being is born with
And
an
though we are
ignorance.
so ignorant, each
what
one of us, we're
happens-
still so limitless.
1 minute. So that means what happens is we keep on removing our ignorance about things of the world. Our ignorance about what is our true nature remains intact until the time that we decide to remove it. But even to be wanting to remove it, you need to understand this. Right? Why should I? Because otherwise my pursuit is just doing this and doing that. I don't even begin to want to remove the ignorance about myself, because I have not even analyzed my experiences and come to understand that actually what I am searching for is personal fulfillment. And if I am basically limited, there is no solution. Okay? So the only logical possibility is that I am free from limitation. Then the next question is how? Okay? And if I am free, how Vedanta is going to help me? You have to also know why Vedanta is a solution. So this is where we say that anything that you are ignorant about, when you come born, you are ignorant about everything else, and you are also ignorant about yourself. Now, all this amazing research and all that we have, which gives us increasing knowledge of the world, what is the process through which we get this information? We have two primary means of knowledge. One is pratyaksha, perception, and the other is perception-based inference. This is how we know things of the world. Starting from simple things as, oh, Nawaz is feeling happy today because she's smiling. This is just a simple perception and perception-based inference to the age of the universe. It is all gained through perception and inference. Think about it.
inference of
Inference means that, now what is perception? But perception is when I see a given object. This is called perception. But so many things in this world are known not just through perception. Were you present when the universe started? No. But you can say the universe is 6 billion years old. How did you come to this conclusion?
You were told.
You were told, but how did the person? Yeah,
Through
exactly.
science.
Through science. And how does science work? Inference, right? They collect data and then they use extremely what? A very evolved logic, and if your inference is right, you cannot find a logical contradiction. This is how the whole entire scientific discovery is based on inference. We use inference very commonly in our life. Okay, you are driving the car. Okay, now the person in front of you, you see a red light. I mean, the car has this red light. What will you infer? What is your perception? Red light. What do you infer? Stop. Okay. What you infer is the person is braking and therefore the person is slowing down. So what do you say? You slow down. So much of your life is based on inferences, because your perception gives you only one data, which is red light. What you infer is the person is braking. You have not gone inside his car and seen that he is putting his leg on brakes. You only see red light and you infer the person has slowed the car, and then you act based on that. So this is how so much of our life is based on the process of perception and inference. Be it a whole of quantum physics, astrophysics, all biology, medical sciences, physiology, anatomy, the whole thing. The doctor, when you go to the doctor, you start talking to the doctor. Okay, I have this, I have this, I have this. What is the doctor doing?
Inference. Yeah.
Inference, exactly. Based on the data that you provide, the doctor infers what is the cause, and he gives you what? He or she gives you medicine for that. A lot of our life is based on, in fact, every knowledge that we have is based on perception and perception-based inference. Okay. Now, can I use the same process to know the nature of myself? The data which is given to me is given through what? The eyes, the ears, 5 sense organs: nose, touch, and taste. These are the 5 sense organs through which I interact with the universe. Okay? I taste something, then I say, yeah, this must be what? Mediterranean food, or this would be, my eyes are blinded. Inference. Okay? So therefore, through this process, I can only know the eyes, the ears, the sense organs can capture external things. Through this process of capturing external things, I continue to remove my ignorance about external things in the world, and I use the knowledge for my well-being. But through this process, can I remove the ignorance that I have about myself?
No.
No.
So you will remove your own ignorance by how you feel and observation.
So now, what Vedanta says is that if you have somehow concluded that I am limited, you really have no perception. The perception and inference cannot actually support this conclusion about you, right? But somehow you have concluded. Now you want to check whether this is accurate or not. What is the means of knowledge that you have with you?
Other people.
So Vedanta says that other people are equally ignorant about who they are. Okay? So you need a valid means of knowledge to even inquire, conduct an inquiry about who you are and see yourself in a different light. Okay? So therefore, Vedanta is a means of knowledge which makes you systematically inquire into the nature of I, which otherwise you cannot do with your five sense organs and inference. Perception and inference is unable to reach that. In that inquiry, so now let's use the inquiry of Vedanta to look into what Vedanta has to say about nature of I. Okay? Now the first thing that Vedanta starts with is by saying that Vedanta is not a means of knowledge to tell you that you are. You are is something which is self-evident. Okay? The very fact that you load upon you all these different conclusions means that you know that you exist. Okay? So Vedanta is not telling you that you exist. Before you came to Vedanta, you know that you are. What is the nature of the problem? You know that you are, but you have loaded your I with certain notions which may not be accurate. So what does Vedanta do? Makes you inquire into your true nature and makes you see yourself in its true light. Okay? That is the function Vedanta serves. Okay? So now, if this is the function Vedanta serves as to make you see yourself in a true light, now let us use Vedanta to see what it has to say about nature of mind. Because you have no other means to correct the notion of I that you're carrying within yourself. Right? So, Vedanta starts with a highly sophisticated methodology which divides the world in Drik and Drishya. Drik is the seer and Drishya is something which is seen by me. Yeah? Something which is seen.
The seer and something which is seen by
The
me.
object.
Exactly. Right? The seer and the object which is seen by me. Simple. Okay. Now, with reference to everything else, I don't have any confusion. Okay?
Sorry, can I ask something? Is
Yes.
this great psychotherapy for people who don't want to, who can't accept that they need it?
Sorry? Vedanta is actually, I will tell you, I did a retreat in Coimbatore, and one of the very famous psychiatrists came to this retreat, and he said that Vedanta, where the psychiatry works with a certain knowledge, it takes as reality you as a limited person and it gives solution. Vedanta is really the ultimate psychotherapy because it actually undertakes an inquiry about the nature of I and makes you see the nature of I in a totally different light as what Vicky says as already fulfilled, already complete. He says this is
So it leaves your, in other words, it leaves your ego intact. When you go for psychotherapy, it's a big ego blow. You don't want to face that. So this leaves that intact.
Yeah. It kind of puts your ego in perspective. So we will see. Use this inquiry. Expose yourself. You just have to listen to what Vedanta says and reflect on it. Okay? Because before you listen to it, you don't know what it has to say. Right? So you have to listen to it with an open mind. And don't be afraid of revising your opinion. Because what it shows is logical. It's not saying something just off the blue. Okay? So therefore, you start by creating that distinction, seer and the object of what is seen by me. So the seer and seen. Okay? Now, there are fundamental things. One
Sorry, I have
is
a question before
yes,
you go ahead.
yes.
So, Vedantas and Vedas and Upanishads, are they the same thing?
Okay. Now that is a different question.
So I
Yeah.
just wanted to understand who
Yeah.
wrote this. I mean,
Yeah. Who wrote this is something that, now this is a very big question. If you want me to get into that, I can get into it. But I prefer to first show you what it says. Right? Because who wrote it, now if I tell you X, Y, Z wrote it, the
It doesn't matter
validity...
because it's logic.
Exactly. Right?
Right.
So the thing is, because even if who wrote it is not, if I can show you that it cannot be contradicted by logic,
Right.
then it has its validity.
Sure.
Because we don't want to impute validity because it is written by this X, Y or Z. Right? So that, but this is a very important question, and I will talk about it little bit later.
Sure.
Okay, let's do this because this is the crux of Vedanta. Okay, so now the whole world is divided into seer and seen. Okay, now what is seen? I don't have any confusion with reference to the sun is something which is seen by me, the table which is seen by me, this sofa is seen by me, this pillow is seen by me. So this is something which is all seen by me. Your bodies are seen by me. So therefore, the seer me is different from all the things which are seen by me. Okay? There is no confusion. What is an important thing to understand is what is seen by me, I never take on the attributes of something which is seen by me. This is a law. This is important. Okay? So that means it is got nothing to do whether it is far or it is close. Whatever is seen by me, I never take on the attributes.
No, but it does influence you.
It may, but I don't, it is not something which I take on the attribute. 1 minute. For example, I see the sun, which is an object of what I see. I don't take on the attributes of the sun. Compared to the sun, the pillow is seen by me, okay, and it is much closer to me, but I don't take on the attributes of the pillow. Nobody does.
No, so you may see Mika and you may think you like the way she's done her makeup,
No,
and you
no.
take on that attribute, and tomorrow you look like.
But that is, no. I don't take on the attribute of Mika because otherwise Mika will stick to me. It doesn't. She just goes and something else comes and I'm always free from all the attributes of something which is seen. This is a law. This is something you can't contend.
It says you may take it, but it will influence you.
Exactly.
Of course, it will influence you.
So that
but
becomes a
which is
source
this
of something else. If that influences you, then
But that,
there's
if
a
you take on
potential.
the attribute, it's you. If you want to say that this is her attribute, then that's your, I think, folly.
But
because
actually, every single
once-
thing you are is taken on by something else.
Fair enough,
This is
but-
not who you were when you were
but
born.
Which is what which that should be would be a function of habit. The fact that it is a habit that has got formed, that somehow we are taking attributes of what we see. By that logic, it's possible to reverse the habit and cultivate another habit where we don't.
Okay, but right now we're saying we don't take on the attributes.
We don't take on the attributes. You may be influenced by the attribute. You don't take it on.
I think we become it to a large degree. When somebody influences you, you're very impressed by them, you like what they say, think, the way they think, etc. It does become you.
You know, but I think you just asked a physicist. The seer and an object of what is seen by you, you don't, because this, what you are talking about is this relative individual who he looks at the world, is influenced by that, the values the person inculcate. But what Vedanta has to show you is you're much more than this relative individual. So you have to first little bit use the logic of Vedanta. Don't continue to think within your framework. Try to see its logic and see how valid it is. Okay, because otherwise you are refusing to let go your framework about who you are. Right? In order for you to see what Vedanta says, you have to keep your opinions about who you think you are at suspension. Any learning takes place like that. If you want any learning to just conform to what you think, then there is no learning. If you suspend what you think for a while and see what something else has to say, it has a much bigger framework, much better and much more coherent framework. You revise your opinion. This is how any learning takes place. Okay? The fact is, the seer does not take on the attribute of something which is seen. Okay? That is scientific. Okay? Now, let us look, my sense of limitation that I suffer from, where does it come from? Where have I put my eye? In this body and this mind. This is how I define myself. Okay? Now, what Vedanta says is, okay, look at your relationship with the body and mind. Can you put it, the body and mind, can you put it in the category of seer or something which is seen by you? You think that the body is the seer, the mind is the seer. What Vedanta says is, in that lies your error. Okay? The body is limited, no doubt about it. We are not trying to make the body limitless or anything. It's impossible. It's a delusion if I begin to think that my body is limitless. It can hardly even, I can have difficulty just running 2 kilometers. Where is the question of it being limitless? Okay? But in that limited body, you have put your eye. What it says is, the mistake is what is seen by you, which is drishya. What have you done? You have what? Put it in the seer category. Different conditions of your body, they are constantly changing. Are you the observer of those changes which are taking place, or are you the changes? You are the observer of changes. If you look at what, 5 or 10 years ago and you see your photo. Okay? If you were the body and if you were changing, who will be the observer who will see 5 years ago I was like this and now I am this? Okay? A body undergoes constant change. And if you look at it from another standpoint, use biology. This body, any medical doctor will tell you, is nothing but cells. Billions of cells, what are they doing? They're coordinating ingeniously every second so that I can talk, I can see you, I can hear the sounds of the birds. Okay? My digestive system is working. My circulatory system is working, my neurons are ticking, the whole system is working. Okay? Billions of neurons are coordinating to amazing amount of precision. Okay? It is nothing but cells. What is my relationship with the cell? One cell I can see under microscope. Okay? So that means one cell is not I. Everybody knows it. If one cell is not I, okay, billions of cells, you add non-I, 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 will it become I? Logically impossible. Okay? Therefore, in fact, all the cells in your body are changing all the time. The body recreates every 12 years. None of the cells that you had will exist in your body. So that means cells are constantly coming and going, and body is nothing but cells. And you think I am as good as the body. As long as your basic mistake is something which is drishya, which is seen by you, and you take on the attribute of that which is seen by you as your attribute, you can never get rid of your sense of limitation, because body is limited. If you put your eye in that body, you are going to suffer from sense of limitation. There is no way to come out of that problem.
But if you're living here on planet Earth only because of the body,
okay,
then obviously you're very connected to the body.
Excellent. Okay. What is among all, it's true that you have a special connection with this body and you have connection with only one body. True. Okay. But because you have that connection with one body, it doesn't become I. There is a logical error there. Okay. One thing is to say, among all the different bodies, I do have a special connection with one body, reality. But because I have special connection with one body, it becomes I, error.
But if I start disconnecting from the body, I start kind of abusing it and not taking care of it.
No. In fact, you will take care of the body much better Because what happens if you take yourself to be the body, which you are not? What happens is all the complexes, what? You gather based on limitation of the body. Okay? The body is mortal. Mortality is one of the most basic fears that we human beings have. We can't handle our own mortality, or we can't handle the mortality of all our loved ones. If you look at the number of complexes that we have centered on how we look, it is unreal. Okay? Everybody, ask any, in fact when I first went to the US, I saw every woman while eating, instead of enjoying the food, always had this guilt feeling, how many calories I'm taking in. And these models that you see on this thing, they are like sticks, but then that becomes like the norm, and everybody starts feeling I'm no good. Okay? So that means in that error is a lot of complexes. Don't think that that error that I make has no, if it had no cost to me, I can live with that error. In that error, in fact, when I begin to see that I have a special relationship with that given body, doesn't mean that I'm indifferent to the body. It is in my custody. I have to take care of it, but I need not suffer the limitation that it has as my limitation. It's in fact highly liberating. Okay? Like among all the houses, you do have a special relationship with one house. It's true. Okay? But the house doesn't become I. Because the I is not the house does not mean that you don't take care of house. You will take care of house.
So it belongs to you, it is not you, but everybody else perceives it as still being you. So how do you deal with
And
that?
you yourself think your identity is totally with the body.
So how do you deal with that aspect?
So now, this is exactly what Vedanta says. First, know what your real nature is. Remove all this ignorance, remove all these conclusions, because if you keep these conclusions intact, there is no solution to your search. Your I is already free, and you are making a mistake about what is that nature of I, and you are imputing the characteristics of the body on I and suffering the limitation of body as limitation of I. And as long as you continue to do it, there is no solution, because body is limited. It has to say something.
So basically Vedanta is trying to prove the existence of what we call the soul, saying that we are not the body, because we always, when we say I, we say we are the body.
Okay.
And when we think of ourselves, we think of our body. Right?
Yes,
So Vedanta is saying
exactly.
by the logic of the law,
Yes.
because we see our body, it cannot be us.
Exactly. Now, absolutely. But it doesn't just end with the soul. It has a much different vision,
Sure,
right?
yeah.
So, but we are doing the inquiry.
Basically we are saying the body is not the I, because we can see it.
Exactly. Now we are seeing the next step. We are doing the inquiry step by step. Okay. First, we have taken away. Now, one thing is very, very important, that when something is not I, does not mean that I become indifferent to it. That is not what Vedanta is saying.
Yeah.
Don't care. It's just saying, hey, look at the relationship that you have. That's all. Once you have a proper relation, the whole life is about having a proper perspective. Okay? In fact, you can take care of your body very well without having complexes, if you understand relationship with it, which is in keeping with reality. Right? Like among all the cars, you have one relationship with one car. You will keep it clean, you will have a nice, but you don't think that you are the car. Right? That's all. Now, the second place where I have put my I, where is it?
Mind.
Mind. Right? Mind is I, that means whatever is happening in the mind becomes what? I take it as the characteristic of I. Okay? Again, Vedanta says, relook at the relationship between I and the mind. Is mind seer or see? Is it drik or is it drishya? Okay. If you look into the definition of mind, mind is nothing but series of thoughts. Series of thoughts. From the time of the birth till now, how many different thoughts you have? Countless. In one day, how many thoughts are there? There is this one author, I think one of the Indian authors, he talks about we having about 60,000 different thoughts in a day. Okay. Now, think about what is your relationship with the mind. Are you the thoughts or are you the observer of the thoughts?
You can observe the thoughts.
You are the observer of the thoughts.
So what you're really saying is that the soul, once it moves on, is not coupled with the mind anymore.
We
That's
have not
very
even come to
tragic.
soul. We are just doing
That's
the
really
inquiry.
tragic, yeah.
We are just I'm not even use the word soul.
My mistake, sorry.
No, but that's exactly, because what happens is, whatever we know, we try to fit Vedanta into what we know. In order to learn what Vedanta says, we have to suspend a little bit what we know and see what Vedanta says.
So the body you can see and the mind you can observe as well, the thoughts.
Exactly, right? Now, so
So
the
that's what you
mind,
do when you meditate, right? You observe it.
And the mind is still not you.
the mind is still not you.
Because you can observe the thoughts when you meditate, you can actually see the thoughts just generating themselves.
Yeah, but it's still not you.
It's
That's
still
what
not
Vedanta
it is you.
says, yeah.
That's what Vedanta says.
So good
exactly.
news, right?
No, it's terrible, it's frightening.
Why?
Why?
No, because
You want to be
then
disassociated from your mind? You'd rather have the mind of a chaiwala downstairs?
But that's the truth. That's what
But
we're
no,
trying to
is-
discover.
But there's no
See, it's the thing.
disassociation.
it's not dissociation. In fact, you can use this amazing instrument that is given to you with lot more efficiency if you understand your relationship.
While you are alive,
While you're
While you're
alive,
alive,
it's
yeah.
lovely.
then that's it. You're as
What
good as the
is-
chaiwala downstairs.
What is a liability for you now? Because when the mind is sad, you think I'm sad and all these problems happen. Now you use it as an instrument, which is an amazing instrument. You can use it with all the freedom because you don't impute its limitation on yourself. It's a gift that is given to you and you free yourself from all the burdens which come with taking yourself as that instrument that is
So you're saying you view everything very neutrally now because your mind is not you, and you just see it as an observer, as something happening to someone
we are
else.
just, in fact, we are not advising. Please understand, I'm not advising what you should do, what you should not do. I'm just telling you the facts. Where are the logical errors?
But that leads us to a logical conclusion,
No,
right?
wait. But we haven't even completed the inquiry and we are constantly.
Hold on. Okay. Okay.
Mind is attacking.
Exactly.
Mind is now self-preservation
Because
mode.
Absolutely, you're
exactly. This is this so-called error preservation that I can't handle it. When that gets questioned, I cannot handle it. This is the natural defense mechanism.
Yeah.
It wants to continue.
Yeah.
It wants to continue with the status quo. You can't revise your opinion, right? If you want to make
If I came with a sense of lack, I'm feeling much more of it now.
until you will discover
We've just
who you
begun.
are,
Until, yeah.
because once you free yourself from the limitation of body and mind, you will discover a much bigger reality about yourself. So you have to hold on till you discover a much bigger reality about yourself.
Okay, go on, you've made us nanga. No, Bas, please.
You're not
Yeah.
expecting to
No, no,
go it
no.
all in one
Not
session.
so.
right? It's going to take time.
I suppose.
Okay. So now what is the time? 10.
I'm just stretching if that's okay.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
If you don't mind.
It's almost
I can-
10, yeah. So in 5 minutes we have to know it all before we leave thinking this.
No. We need to stay with ideas. right? In order for you to learn something, you need to dwell on ideas. Okay? Now, once I have said that the mind is not I, why? Simple logic. If you were the mind, when the thought comes, you will come into being, and when the thought goes, you will go.
What do you mean?
If I am the thought, mind is nothing but thoughts. If I was the mind, when the thought arises, I will come into being, and when the thought goes, I will cease to exist. Is it true?
No.
No, exactly. So that means, who are you? You are the observer who sees rising of one thought. How long does the thought last?
A moment.
Seconds.
Yeah.
Okay? The thought goes and the next thought arises. That thought goes. The third thought arises. Please understand that there is no leftover of thoughts from one thought to the other. That would be very, very dangerous. Imagine if I'm looking at the tree and the next thought is summer. If I will carry forward the thought of tree, then I will see summer and I'll mix it up with tree. Then the third thought is Hitesh. I will carry tree, summer, and I will superimpose on Hitesh. Please understand, there is not 1 ounce of thought which is left over from one thought to the other.
But if it's an emotional thought or something you
You
need
connect.
to do, it
That
will
is
then continue on with thinking about anybody else. No?
That is one, we do some thinking by association. Give me some time to explain. First listen to me, then, because otherwise I can't proceed. There are so many
But
things.
if you're saying something at the
Yes,
time which
that
I
is
feel
true.
is not...
No. That nothing is connected, but I do make connections, but I can't talk about everything all at the same time.
Okay.
What you need to understand, go step by step, follow what Vedanta has to say. It has to say something very profound and very, very something which quantum physicists cannot deny. So give some time to Vedanta. Okay. So therefore, this no thought carries forward the next thought. Because if that was there, right now I can't see anything fresh. I will carry forward billions of thought that I have thought of, and I will superimpose on that thing that I am seeing, and I will not see anything. The very fact that right now I can see Mika without anything else that I have thought of superimposing on that, what does it mean? That one thought is independent of the other. I may have some association, that is true, but why and what happens I will see, I will tell you later. But the fact is that thoughts have no carry forwards. But more importantly, what is my relationship with the thought? I am the observer of thoughts. Thoughts are not me. Coming and going of all these different thoughts, I am the invariable presence. Okay? So therefore, now again there is a mistake. Whatever is seen by me, which is drik, the mind, is now, what is the mistake we do? I impute the characteristic of something which is seen by me as what? The characteristic of the seer. That's the second mistake. Okay? Now this mind, which is nothing but thoughts, is not just random thoughts.
Neema, sorry to interrupt. I have to leave your country. You feel at home, just whatever breakfast. I'm in a little bit of a rush. I'm really sorry.
Okay, no problem at all.
So just feel at home, okay? It's
Yeah,
completely home, yeah?
Yeah.
Channel you. See you guys. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. I will stop the class in 5 minutes. Should I explain what the mind is, or should I explain next time?
I'm okay with anything.
Yeah.
I
your
actually
call.
can't stay beyond 10 personally, so almost.
Okay.
But
I
you
will-
continue, yeah.
I will just talk about these thoughts are not just random. Okay? I will talk about 4 different functions that the mind has, and I will elaborate on it next time. Okay? The first function that the thought has is what we call manas. Manas is the emoting mind. Okay? So therefore, when the senses give the report to the of the external world and it is carried in the brain, there is an emotional response. Okay? So this is what we call emotions. Emotions are nothing but thoughts, okay? And they come and they go. Every emotion that you have felt in life, you thought that you were stuck with depression for 10 years or whatever, but in fact there were a series of thoughts, each one came and went. But because of association, you had related thoughts, and therefore you thought that I was what? Depressed for 10 years or 1 year or whatever. But each thought, which was the subject of which was sadness, lasted for how long? Seconds. Okay? So therefore, there is one faculty of mind which is what we call emoting mind, which is called manas. The second faculty of mind, which is also nothing but thoughts, is what we call buddhi. What is buddhi? Your cognitive capacity. Okay? For example, your mind and the thought process is not just emoting. If I teach you 2 plus 2 is equal to 4, which faculty of your mind you are using? Cognitive, right? In Sanskrit, this is called buddhi. Okay? So therefore, and this cognitive capacity you use when you go to university, you are also using when you are discriminating something. Now, when I am teaching you Vedanta, which faculty you are using? Your buddhi, your cognitive capacity, to inquire and make some differences. Right? So this is the second faculty that you have. The third faculty of mind is what we call chitta, memory. Okay? Between one thought and the second thought, right? If you had no memory, what would happen? You will have zero continuity. Speak to somebody who is suffering from Alzheimer, what happens? The person forgets how to open the door because there is no memory of anything. The person forgets the people. There is no memory. One thought to the second thought, if there was no function of memory, what? The whole holding together happens because of this function of memory. The memory are of 2 types. One is what we call conscious memory, which is what I remember, I can retrieve. You go to the exam, what happens? Everything that you have studied, you retrieve from your memory and you reproduce in the exam. Okay. The other is what we call unconscious memory. Unconscious memory is in your childhood. Okay, there are certain experiences that you have had which leave a very deep impression on you. Okay? And those deep impressions, what? Actually make your personality. As a child, it's very difficult to at times handle traumas. Okay? But so therefore, there is a natural mechanism where it's all shoved aside because a child is not capable of addressing it or even to know it and process it. So it is shoved aside. What happens is, as you grow, whatever is shoved aside, it is not going to disappear. It is going to become the very basis through which you will perceive the events in life. So you are convinced that external world is like this, but it's not, some data is truth. Okay? But a lot of it is what? Your own orientation. 5 people are put in the same situation. Each one has a different interpretation of what is going on. Why? there is a filter through which we process the external world. That filter is what we call the unconscious. The unconscious memory which colors how we perceive things. All this is happening at the level of mind. Please understand. Mind is not I, but it is an extremely sophisticated instrument. You have to understand. Okay? So therefore, there is this chittam, which is what? Conscious and unconscious memory. There is the fourth function in the mind, which is what we call ahankara. In Sanskrit, it is called ahankara. Ahankara means, in English we use the word ego, but ego is not really an adequate word because ego has connotation of something which is not good, it is something to be avoided. Okay? In Sanskrit, it is just explaining a function of mind. Okay? A function of mind, which is what we call ahankara. Ahankara means the sense of I. So that means the mind has not only emotions, it has not only cognitive capacity, it not only has memory, it has I thought. Okay? And that I thought keeps on getting connected with what? Your emotions. So therefore, when you feel sad, not only there is a feeling of sadness, because of this I sense getting connected to your emotions, what happens? You say, I am sad. Okay? Then the next minute, the emotion is anger. Then your I sense gets connected with your anger, and what do you say? I am angry.
What is function of ahankara?
The I sense which keeps on getting connected to different functions.
That is ahankara.
That is ahankara. Okay? So therefore, everything becomes I because of ahankara. Right? Then you are happy. Then the next sensation is pleasing for you. I am happy. So that means that I thought, which is a variable thought, it gets connected to different emotions that are taking place in your mind, and it is also keeping on changing. Okay? The I sense also gets connected to your cognitive capacity. Not only you understand 2 plus 2 is equal to 4, you say, but your capacity to understand advanced thinking, what do you say? I am intelligent. Because you have a sharp cognitive capacity, you are able to understand the concepts accurately. You are able to understand some subtlety of instruments, art and things accurately. What? I say, I am intelligent, I am creative. Okay? Your I sense gets connected with your intellect and your discriminative capacity. Then your I sense also gets connected with your memory. This is why you can make the statement, when I was 5 years old, this is what happened to me. Okay? So your I sense gets connected to your memories. This is why, even though this I sense is variable, constantly changing, sometimes identifying with your mind, sometimes with your cognitive capacity, sometimes with your memory, it seems like a stable, constant entity. Okay? Because it is constantly getting mixed with something or the other, and it seems like one entity, which is the reality. What Vedanta says is that this mind has all these 4 functions, okay? And because of this function, we are stuck with our identity as what? This I sense, which is connected to the 3 faculties.
And also because we have this great need to own.
Exactly, right? So that means everybody is operating with this I sense as the reality. What Vedanta says is, this I sense, we are not denying it is not there, but it is in which category? The category of
Observe.
drishya, not drik. Okay? Then the next question is, if all this is drishya, we are not denying it exists. Please understand. if all this is something which is seen by me and it is variable, what is that observer? What is the nature of the observer in whose presence all these various different conditions which come and go are known? Then Vedanta tells you what is the nature of the observer. What it is, we will see in the next class.
So that is only the soul.
No, have I used? Why are
We can't
you
suspend our thinking for 1 week, right? You want us to, okay.
reflect on what is being said, right? Because if you already know the answer, you don't need to be in the
We're
class.
asking you the answer.
So
This is a long one. It takes an
I
hour.
have not used word soul in my class.
You don't
because
use it.
I don't use it.
Even
Because
in your last class, you
on
won't
my
use
last
it.
class, I won't use it. Because according to the vision of Vedanta, you're not one little soul or anything. You are Brahman.
You're the
it will show you.
cosmos.
And it will show you how. You have to give it a chance. Listen to it.
So you disrobe one sense of ego to take on another.
No. I'm
Okay, I'm still looking for a
making
conclusion.
you
Okay.
in touch with reality, and I'm taking you through this process of inquiry, where I make you see where are the errors and shed the errors so that you can be more in touch with reality.
Thank you. She's making sure we come back next Wednesday.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
I'm going to stop the class with a prayer, if we can.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I'll stand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Guru Namaha Hari Om.